This great value version of the Baltimore Ravens don't scare me. And it shouldn't scare Houston, a team that can position themselves to run and rush all over this version of Baltimore.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode of the Locked On Texans podcast is for Texan fans all around. We're diving into the importance of winning going into the bye week. Houston can build some confidence for themselves and also look at how can they sustain what they're working on putting together. But it all starts with getting a win against the Baltimore Ravens this Sunday, a team that has beat their tails, it seems like every time they play them, right? But for Houston, where are the advantages? Well, for one, the Houston Texans defense versus the Ravens offense. You got the number one point scored per game allowed Texans defense in the league versus a Baltimore Ravens team that has to put up 30 points a game because their defense is weak. Why is their defense weak? Well, because teams are running all over the Baltimore Ravens defense. That's why they're weak. That's why teams have been able to drop 33 points on them per game. And so for Houston, walking into EMT Stadium and running out with a dub all starts with how they perform on the ground. Now, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. What do I mean by, what do I mean by the Houston Texans can run all over the Baltimore Ravens? I know that's a bold statement, right? But what I mean is this is a team here in Houston that is going up against one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. That's what I mean. And when the Houston Texans run the ball well, you got to look at where they are offensively when we see some of their better numbers. And on second down, you're seeing Houston run at a very high rate of 5.6 yards per carry. That's their best on any down this year. Also, 11 rushing first downs. Third down, you get the third down right, 4.8 yards per carry, 5 rushing first downs as well. Houston has a terrible, and I mean god-awful, third down conversion rate. We know that. It's sitting at 29.17%. However, when Houston has put themselves in better third down situations, so when we're looking at 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, that number for Houston changes drastically. They have a 38.5% rushing first down rate. So, for example, when Houston's distance to first down is between 3 to 6 yards, guys, they are averaging 7.7 yards per carry. That's including 60% first down rate and a near 67% third down conversion. On the year, Houston has 23 rushing first downs. So you guys may be thinking, okay, these numbers, what do these numbers mean? You're looking at a team that does not have a lot of explosive plays on the year, especially a lot of explosive runs, even though they do run the ball at 4.1 yards per carry. But this is a team through 4 weeks that the numbers say they need those rushing attempts to be plus 20 if their running game will have a lasting impact on how the flow of the game will look for the Houston Texans. So, case in point, you look at the Rams game, 27 rushing attempts, 8 first downs. You know what that helped with? Winning the time of possession against the Bucs, against the Jags, 19 rushing attempts in both games, 3 first downs against the Bucs, 2 first downs against the Jags. These are not rushing first downs. These are just first downs. And you know what that trend led to? Losing the time of possession against the Tennessee Titans. 35 rushing attempts, 10 first downs. And you know what that trend led to? Winning the time of possession. I want to shout out Aziz Al-Shair, who mentioned that I'm glad they won the time of possession. I'm paraphrasing here, but They need to win the time of possession. The Houston Texans defense are out there way too often. But the reason I'm bringing these numbers up is for the last 3 games, the great value Baltimore Ravens have allowed 152 rushing yards per game on 31 rushing attempts and 170 rushing yards allowed at home. So I need for y'all to go tell Marlo. I need for y'all to tell Avon. I need for y'all to go find Lester, find the money, follow the money Freeman. I need for y'all to go find Poot. I need for y'all to go find my boy Slim Charles and tell them the Texans are coming to Baltimore and they're going to leave MT Bank Stadium with a win by running the ball. And that's something that a lot of people who've watched football for a very long time, you typically don't talk about the Baltimore Ravens defense like that and say that teams are going to be able to run on them traditionally. But this is a 2025 great value version of the Baltimore Ravens, and they have yet to be able to stop a nosebleed. Houston's ability to run the ball will dictate how this offensive game plan go, how the offensive flow will look like. It keeps them in front of the sticks and not getting behind it, right? That's very important for an offense still trying to find themselves and consistency with their identity. Going into this game, I am curious to see how Houston and Nick Caley go about their first down play calling situations, because how they set themselves up on first down will determine how that second down is going to look in terms of success, in terms of EPA, whatever number you guys want to look at. I'm going to give you a number. When Houston has gotten to second down with 1 to 3 yards to go, 4.2 yards per carry, 6 first downs on the ground, plus 14.3 yards per attempt, the highest of any down for Houston, 3 first downs, 3 of 3 for 43 yards through the air. Now, when Houston gets to 2nd and 4 through 6, those numbers look like 8.7 rushing yards gained on the ground. C.J. Stroud is 6 and 9 for 96 yards, and a total of 8 first downs combined through the ground and the air on 13 plays. A successful first down opens the opportunity of what the successful drive could look like at the end when they get to the red zone, when they can potentially punch it into the end zone. We don't want to see a lot of Kaimi Fairbairn out there, and I understand that he's one of the greatest kickers in this league, but for the Houston Texans, I think it's important for them to consistently put up 7 on the board. Even with Baltimore being a hobbled team, this is a game where Houston cannot beat themselves. So, with me saying that, you want to talk about trends, and you want to talk about Houston slowly but surely progressing in a positive way. Only 6 times did Houston's offense have a play or penalty that forced them behind the sticks, either no gain or behind the sticks on first down against the Titans. Best of the season. You compare that to 9 times versus the Rams, 9 times versus the Bucs and the Jags. So everything about this offensive game plan will be predicated on how the Houston Texans can set themselves up on first down. This is a team, and we got to shout out C.J. Stroud before I move forward. We saw C.J. use his legs in the game against I keep wanting to call up San Diego. That's just the old school mind. But against the Chargers and against the Chiefs, right? Taking what the defense gave him. If there was a running lane there, you saw C.J. Stroud use it. And at one point he joked that, he had a slow 40, right? But positive yards are still positive yards. So I want to shout out C.J. Stroud. Top 10 right now in quarterback total rushing EPA, sitting at number 5, plus 11.7. You got Jalen Hurts at number 1, Josh Allen number 2, Baker Mayfield number 3, Lamar Jackson number 4, C.J. Stroud number 5. So he is absolutely adding to this rushing attack for the Houston Texans. And it's not always pretty. It's not a lot of explosive runs for C.J. Stroud. It ain't going to be that for him. But it is nobody's open downfield. I got an edge here. Let me go pick up 4, right? That's what it's going to look like for C.J. Stroud. And if there's a bootleg play action and nothing is open downfield, don't force it. Go get the 4, because now you're looking at what? 2nd and 6. And for an offense for the Houston Texans, when they're operating around 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, that opens up what the running game could do. 8.7 yards on the ground. CJ Stroud, 6 of 9 for 96 yards, 8 first downs. And again, those first downs are leading to drives where Houston can sustain what they're doing. CJ Stroud right now is averaging 5.4 yards per carry with a long of 19 on the year and almost at 100 yards on the ground. He's bringing value to this rushing attack, guys. And we got to respect it. We got to give him some love. And also, shout out to Nick Chubb, who I think in his role for Houston, and it may start to decrease a little bit more, but he is still impactful for this rushing attack for the Houston Texans. Now, on the opposite side, the Houston Texans defense could possibly have the number for the Ravens offense with or without Lamar Jackson. You know the saying, you look good, you feel good. The problem is most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp but feel stiff, hot, and high maintenance. That's where Miles and Main comes in. Miles and Main makes classic menswear with performance fabric, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they perfected it ever since. I love that you can go from a dinner to the office, from the office to the dinner, or even out on the golf course and still feel comfortable all day. It feels like athletic wear, but it looks professional and it goes with anything. So right now, Miles and Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase. I just got mine in the mail. It's extremely comfortable. I feel like I can go for a slight jog in my pants. I'm telling you right now, in my dress pants that they sent over. But you can get 20% off your first purchase at mizenandmain.com with promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Mizen spelled Mizzen and Main MAIN.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL20 for 20% off. If you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizen and Main in select stores. And also, Texan fans, before we talk about how the Houston Texans defense can disrupt the offensive flow and rhythm for the Ravens on Sunday, perfect opportunity to let you guys know that right now new customers can bet just $5. And you'll get $300 in bonus bets with FanDuel if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. And if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives everybody so many different ways to play, different ways to build parlays, player props, and even follow the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something extra riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? You shouldn't be waiting at all. Visit FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app today to get started. I'm going to catch a lot of flack for calling the Baltimore Ravens a great value version of themselves. I know I am. Even with or without Lamar Jackson, I think this is a Baltimore Ravens team that has quit on their coach. I really do. Nothing about this team looks inspiring, right? It's kind of different with the Houston Texans, who said it. They both sit at 1-3, right? But frustrations differ depending on the environment, the circumstances, the expectation. Houston's frustration building because they got to learn an offense that ain't putting points on the board, right? But this is year one of that. And it's also frustrating how they even got to this point. And I understand that. For the Baltimore Ravens, though, they were a lot of people's Super Bowl picks. This is the year they figure it out and this, that, and the third. But John Harbaugh continues to show that he can't hold on to a lead. He cannot coach a team that can hold on to a lead. And then the fumbles start with Derrick Henry, and he's not running the ball the same, right? But that's not the storyline for how Houston is going to win this game. I still think Derrick Henry's going to come in here and have a good game against the Houston Texans because he typically does. And I have to see otherwise before I can buy into it, though I don't think it's going to be as impactful as we've seen before. But it's all about the Texans defense versus the Ravens offense. And specifically, prepare for a Ravens offense, again, with or without Lamar Jackson. The key to success is going to be Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter setting the edge and forcing whoever at quarterback to stay inside as much as possible. So before I get further into that, the defense for the Houston Texans, the best in the NFL by the numbers. Points per drive through 4 weeks, 1.21. That's number one in the NFL. Points allowed per game, that's number one in the NFL. Total yards allowed per game, number 5 in the NFL. Passing yards allowed per game, number 7 in the NFL. So let's just say Houston has to prepare for Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is getting pressure everywhere on that offensive line. Lamar Jackson's tackles have not been the greatest in 2025. Ronnie Stanley has been he hasn't been operating the left tackle spot well. 9 pressures on the year according to PFF, 3 sacks allowed on the year according to PFF, 7 hurries. You also look at Tyler Linderbaum, 9 pressures on the year, 7 hurries, 1 sack allowed. Interior play for the Baltimore Ravens just hasn't been up to par as well. You look at Voorhees with 8 pressures allowed. You look at number 77, Daniel for the Baltimore Ravens with 6 pressures allowed, 1 sack on the year, 2 penalties on the year as well. Like, these guys are not performing up to their standard. This is partially why I can call them a great value version of themselves. So in order for Houston's defense to really come out and set the tone, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson will absolutely have to be game wreckers. And what plays into the Houston Texans' favor, number one, is the guys inside. Sheldon Rankins, who's been having a good year, Mario Edwards, Tim Settle, those guys, Tommy Togiai, who, man, he had one of the plays of the day for the Texans on Sunday. Reading that screen, finding the ball, following the ball, and getting back to the player, eventually making a tackle, who I think as time goes by, every year under D'Amico Ryans, it feels like we find another D tackle that, man, he's having a good year. So Togiai could be that guy. He's smart. He's intellectual. At one point, he was called one of the most consistent players on the team. Kind of scratch your head as to why he was, out those first 2 games. But him getting back, I think, is important for the Houston Texans D-line as well. So for Houston, they're going to have to contain everything and force it back on the inside. I think that's going to be important for how this Texas defense impact the Ravens offense. That's number one. For 2, the Ravens offense, they have to score 32 points a game because their defense is going to give up 33 points a game. All right? And so you look at the element that Lamar Jackson brings if he's going to play, because as of right now, this was reported midway through Wednesday, there's a chance that Lamar Jackson could still play. And by the way, if Houston wins this game, that will increase their chances to make the playoffs. And currently they have a 33% chance to make the NFL playoffs. But you look at the defense flushing everything back in to where those explosive plays are limited, right? A lot of times this year, Lamar Jackson is creating some of his own sacks. I don't have the numbers pulled up, but he's created some of his own sacks. But the element that he brings to this offense that is struggling with that offensive line, that's struggling, he's able to extend plays. And extending the plays on the outside, being able to run around and make guys miss and keeping his eyes downfield, how that helps out the Baltimore Ravens offense, those receivers, I think, do a very good job in the scramble drill, getting open, allowing for a window to Lamar Jackson to throw into. Well, he can't do that consistently if Danielle Hunter is where he needs to be. Don't cheat in, be on the edge, and forcing him back on the inside. Same for Will Anderson. And the scary part about that for the Baltimore Ravens offense, but the good thing about that for the Houston Texans defense is both of those guys know how to do that at an extremely high rate. Both of them. So for Lamar, he can't bounce out. If he doesn't bounce out against the Houston Texans and is forced to be contained in the pocket, that's not saying Lamar Jackson is not a pocket passer. I think he is. But because of the bad offensive line play and because of some of those tendencies that have set in for Lamar, running around hurts Houston. Having a pocket that's tight and becomes a little bit smothering, that's going to play in the favor of Houston. And I'm also going to say this. Now, granted, Tennessee ain't Baltimore. Zay Flowers, Bateman, Andrews, that's a major upgrade from Ridley and whoever else is in Tennessee. But what I like from D'Amico Ryans was pointing out the execution on the back end of the defense was much better against the Tennessee Titans. Now, of course, I'm going to point to who's not there anymore, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I kid it. But for Lamar, if that pocket smothers and guys on the back end are where they need to be, you got to look at it. Like, what matchup do you think favors Houston? Kamari or DeAndre Hopkins? Youth versus a player, once former great receiver, right? Second best in franchise history for here in Houston, but he ain't the same. What matchup may like Zay Flowers and Derek Stingley because of Stingley's injury, and they may cancel out, but I'm taking Kamari in that matchup versus DeAndre Hopkins or Rashad Bateman. I'm taking the D-line versus the Ravens D-line, where it gets tricky for Houston. And I mentioned this on the squad show. Houston cut down on those missed tackles. The linebackers was not as bad, guys where they would need to be. And for Azeez, a lot of times, I like that matchup between him and Andrews because Andrews he's not going to burn Azeez, right? I think that's going to be a physical matchup that can cancel each other out or may play into the role of Azeez Al-Shire. When everything is kind of in a curl, flat for Azeez, coverage-wise, I don't worry. It's when things get a little bit vertical where his percentage of being able to make a play comes down a little bit. Still a hell of a linebacker. Still pretty good in coverage, by the way. So Houston has players on their side of the ball that are healthy or getting healthier, right? That eliminates what the struggling Baltimore Ravens offense tries to expound on and be good at. But the key to this game is smothering that pocket for Lamar Jackson. Smothering the pocket for Lamar Jackson. And I also think EJ Speed could be a big part of this game plan for the Houston Texans defense. Now, the importance of getting a win going into the bye week. You know why that's a conversation? It feels like if Houston goes 1-4 before they get to the full October schedule, which kicks off Sunday versus the Baltimore Ravens, it feels like those reevaluation conversations get louder again. But if they go into the bye week with a win, and they sit at 2-3. Oh, and by the way, they beat the Baltimore Ravens, who the last time they played Baltimore, beat them so bad, Beyonce texted McNair and said, "I'm not coming back unless y'all pay me." Then the concert happened, so she came back. It was for a concert, right? That is a confidence builder and booster for a franchise that hadn't had a lot of those moments versus tier 1 teams. So, closing out today's show, I'll talk about the importance of winning going into the bye week. But first, Texan fans, awesome opportunity here to let you guys know about Mazda. The standard that Mazda has created is the best standard in the game right now. Why? Because Mazda craft cars for those who do more than simply move. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. So does Mazda. Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every model. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Texan fans, I'm gonna need y'all. I'm gonna need y'all, man. I'm gonna need y'all, because when somebody comes out and calls a great franchise, a great value version of themselves, I'm gonna need y'all, man. So when they come for me, y'all back me up, right? I'm always on y'all side. I need y'all. But okay, 1-3 teams, two teams that don't want to be 1-3, two teams coming into the 2025 season. Expectations were completely different from me in 1-3. But I'm not here at this point of the show to talk about the Baltimore Ravens. I'm here to talk about the Houston Texans right now. So the Tennessee Titan win, 26-0 shutout. Will we see a shutout or something reminiscent of a shutout this upcoming Sunday? If no Lamar Jackson's out there, Cooper Rush, who the last time played Houston, he played really well in terms of numbers. But I just think the Baltimore Ravens team is just discombobulated altogether right now. But for Houston, it really does become a man. You know what, guys? We can do it. And back-to-back weeks of performing well. Let's look at the possibilities here. You got back-to-back weeks of performing well, back-to-back weeks of getting wins, right? And I opened up today's show looking at how Houston can win this ball game. Hey, and I'm also say this, man. You get to those short down situations, the run is important, but that also opens up the play action game. And that's how Houston scored against Tennessee. So, like, those things matter, right? But it gives Houston more of a sense of direction on where they are and a true self-evaluation. I'm going to call Baltimore a great value version of themselves. But the Houston Texans right now, they are if this was Walmart, they would go and buy that great value version of themselves. They ain't got a lot of money. And the money that I'm talking about is they ain't got a lot that they can show for over Baltimore. Baltimore has routinely whooped them. You look at the embarrassing loss to Jacksonville. You look at the 19 missed tackles against Tampa. You look at how flat that offense was against the LA Rams to open up the season. But then you look at how they ended against Tennessee. And then you look at how they could possibly beat Baltimore. It puts those first 3 games into perspective. It does. Got the number 1 defense in the league, points per game. But beating Baltimore, I think you're looking at a team that could really sit back and say, guys, y'all know we should be 5-0. They found the offense later than what they probably wanted to. And maybe we can look at and blame it on not taking preseason a little bit more seriously and putting those guys out there to figure this thing out. But realistically, they get that win now. Okay, we should be 5-2. We beat a couple of teams. We know what we do well. We know what we need to improve on. But from day one, when people complained about an early bye week, my thought process was, guys, take a step back and look at the situation that this team is in right now. Cole Popovich is new to his role. Nick Caley is completely new to his role. You got guys that are look to step up. You got rookies protecting your quarterback. You got a rookie protecting your quarterback. You got rookies out there on the perimeter that are expected to make plays. You got a rookie running back. Take a time and look at that early bye week as a blessing, because Now Houston can look at, do we make upgrades? Do we make changes with the guys that are already on the roster? Do we look around the league? Who's some of these guys on the practice squads around the league? Who's coming back? Guys that are in that window that's getting healthier. Are they ready? Can we expect for them to play a little bit earlier? Are they, on time with their comeback to getting on the field? And you can do that without having to rush for another game. Like the coaching staff, they're gonna get ready for, was it Seattle when they come out of their break? They're gonna be doing that. They're gonna be getting ready. But you gotta best believe during that bye week, D'Amico is looking at everything, considering everything to see where is the advantage for Houston. And if they're going to make a real run at this, number one, they got to win on Sunday. It's going to be hard for a 1-4 team to do it. But man, you look at the options of how Houston can win and if they can sustain it. And if they feel like they got the guys on the on the roster and in the locker room to sustain it as well. And if not, do they go out there and search for the edge? Do they go get that player? And also just guys getting healthy. You give Derek Stingley a week to get himself together. You give Will Anderson a week, who is questionable right now, a week to get himself together. But it's important for Houston to get it done. Thank you guys for watching today's episode. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. And also give me a follow on Twitter at John_Hickman12. Until next time, Texas fans across the nation, peace.